I'm sitting in. I'm relocated my desk, so I've got. I'm looking at a window ahead of my screen, so I've got all that.
Pretty well.
It's just like my study's being redecorated, so anyway, it's all going to change next week. Back again.
Wave, Linda, because you're live and telling everybody about your study.
Right.
So I'm Jen Toksvig, and I'm here in the Larder with Linda Walton and Buffy Sharpe, who are women who write musicals. Say hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So we've just been talking about tiny shows, and just for people who don't know what that is, you can go to tinyshows.co.uk, I think. Linda, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
no, .com.
Oh, .com. And all of the information about it is there. We are gathering over a weekend 30 writers and composers and 30 performers and a few helpful directors and dramaturgs and stage management in a wonderful building in the city where we will be making tiny, tiny shows that are anything from 6 minutes maximum down to 6 seconds long, and those are the ones I'm really excited about. So we were just talking about things that hopes that we might have for the event and fears that we might have about the event. And I guess the first thing we talked about is what's happening on the first day. So should we talk about the schedule a little bit? Is that a good place to start, do you think?
Yeah.
So on the Saturday, we're gathering first thing in the morning at 10, which is first thing on a weekend. And there'll be an hour when we say hello, meet each other, and I talk a little bit about how the process is going to work. So we're using the principles of open space technology mostly, so I'll be talking us through that. And that basically means whatever happens over the weekend is the only thing that was ever going to happen. So if you start out aiming to write one specific thing and you don't get to write that thing, that's cool. Whatever you write is the right thing for you to have written. And whoever you work with is the right person for you to be working with. And it's going to be fast and furious. So I think it will be really helpful for us to not worry about whether or not we're making the right choices, although I know we will worry about that. But to have stuff around the room that just says, don't worry, the choices you're making are the right ones, whatever they are. So we start with an hour of that, and then we'll have an hour of speed dating. So do you guys want to explain this bit? While I sip on coffee?
Go on, Linda.
Oh, right. Well, the idea behind the speed dating is that we've got a number of different writers who are turning up, and Jen will be putting up, telling us the story, which will be kept secret until then. But she assures us it's a well-known story. We'll all know it.
You'll all know it.
We'll all know it.
Yeah.
So no need to be worried about the fact that you haven't watched this film or read this book or whatever. We will all know it.
Yes.
And she will be putting up around the room on pieces of paper different moments that happen in that story. And the writers will be able to go and look at all of that, just see which moments in the story that they really like, that really speak to them, that is perhaps a moment that they like to capture. We'll be looking particularly at the character and the character journey. So particular characters may sing to you, particular characters in particular parts of the story. And as a writer, you'll be able to just sort of grab that and say, that's something that I'd like to work on. And if you're yeah, and if you're a wordsy type person who knows nothing about composing music, you might shout out, hey, I need a composer to come and work on this who's inspired by the same idea, and sort of find your partner that way.
Speaking of partners, we have dance cards that we're giving out. So everybody will have all of the different writing sessions written on their dance card, and then you just write down the name of your collaborator or collaborators if you're working with more than one. So there'll be a space to write down names, and there'll be a space to write down the place where you're going to go and do that, the corner of the building where you're going to go and work together.
And I'm really excited about the fact, I'm quite nervous as well, actually, but that's all part of the fun. But I'm really excited about meeting new people to work with, just working with people who work in different ways, have different styles. You know, that's perhaps people that you wouldn't normally choose to work with. Obviously, new people who we've never worked with before. So that'd be great. And I think, you know, one of the great secrets of collaborations in my relatively limited experience is just having people who work together who are inspired by the same thing.
Absolutely.
And if you are just inspired by the same single moment in the story that we're working on as one other person, then that seems to me a good enough reason for the two of you to be working together, whether it's for 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour. And that's really exciting.
Good. That's really good. I'm glad you're excited and not terrified by that.
I'm both. I have to admit, I'm both. I guess the fear is, are we actually going to be able to produce anything? But you know, I'm quietly confident we will, because we'll be in an environment which will be completely set up, as Jen's explained, and conducive for doing that. So we will. I know we will.
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think we might want to talk about just Buffy, do you want to talk about the shape of the writing sessions that we're going to have on the Saturday?
Yes, so everybody will have a dance card, and they can slot collaborators. If they're book or lyrics, they could collaborate with a musician, or they could collaborate with another book lyric writer, depending on what they think would be interesting. And we'll start with slightly longer slots while everybody gets used to the form, so 12 to 1 slot, a 1 to 2 slot. And then as the day progresses and we get more used to speed dating writing, the slots, and obviously far more accomplished at it, the slots will get shorter.
They will get shorter and shorter, yeah, through the day.
Which I think is really fun, actually. I like that.
It's partly, I think, to allow us to start having a bit more time and being a bit more comfortable, and then once we get more confident writing quickly, we are able to work in shorter moments, because we'll do the same amount of work. We'll just hit the ground running faster. It's also partly because I wanted to get more writing sessions into the day.
I love the idea of collaborating with so many different people. I actually bumped into 2 composers who were doing tiny shows at the Musical Box Festival, and I was like, oh, we must write together, and I wasn't sure if we'd actually have time for everybody to write with everybody, so it's going to be great fun.
It will be interesting, I think, to find out who, you know, what if I, as a words person, find myself standing next to another words person, and we have a great idea for a song moment that we both really want to write, and we don't have a composer, and we shout out, we need a composer, and nobody comes. Then, you know, that's the opportunity for us to choose to write music, or just to write a lyric and present it as a poem, or, you know, I think any and all options are viable ones, and I think it might be nice to go, oh, well, perhaps we should just write the music then. I think that's kind of fun.
Would it be totally cheating to write myself on the dance card and just give myself like a 20-minute slot to get my head in order at some point?
I think that's a wonderful idea, and open space works that way, in that when you call a session, sometimes nobody comes to your session and you are the only person there. And Phelan McDermott, who is my great mentor in open spaceness, says perhaps you are the right person to be there at that time to think about that thing. And also, he says, whenever do you get in your life the luxury of having a specific amount of time to yourself to just work on one thing that you're really passionate about, with no distractions and no other obligations?
Oh, this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most, is just absolutely focusing on being a writer for 2 days with other writers. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. Because otherwise we're all slotting in around everything else in our lives, you know.
Aren't we though? Yeah. And you, Buffy, you produce, you're on boards, you do a bit of directing as well, I think, don't you? And
I don't direct actually, but everything else.
Pretty much everything else. This I know about you. So yeah, I'm hoping that it will be a really lovely luxury for us to just be writers, and not only that, but just be able to write anything that we want to write, not to have to think about, oh no, what size cast am I writing for, or, you know, or how viable is this commercially, or any of those things. Just to say, I'd like it for this to happen in this moment, and even to be able to say, you know, I always felt this story needed more X in it. You know, I always felt this story needed more puppies in it, and therefore I'm going to write a puppy moment for this child. Just the freedom. I feel like everything needs more puppies in it, but just the freedom to do that.
Or a backstory for one of the characters. I mean, that's always fun.
Yeah. Or change the ending. You know, I mean, I just feel like there are any number of opportunities for us to try things out, and that's what Tiny Shows is all about, I think. What are we afraid is going to go wrong? What do we think might happen that would be horrific?
That we can't actually produce anything.
That we can't. That there's no material. Nothing comes out.
Yeah.
That's funny, isn't it?
As I've said before, I'm sure that's not going to happen. Or that what you do produce, you're not very happy with. It's not up to the quality that you really like to show in front of other people. I guess that's a fear.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm hesitating swearing at this time of day, but I think the rubbish material. I have stronger words for it. The things that you look at and think, "Wow, I can't believe I wrote that. It's dreadful."
Yeah.
Tend to be the things that you do quickly, and then you have a look at it, and then you change it, where you won't be changing it this time. Yeah, that's tricky. How do we do? Actually, we have a provocation coming up in which I'm going to talk with Lee Simpson from Improbable Theatre Company, and he is a man who make work quickly. They do a lot of improvised work. They do a lot of unrehearsed, spontaneous, devised work. And so we're going to talk about what it's like to make work quickly, what it's like to collaborate with people that you may not necessarily ever have met before, because they do some stuff like that as well, where they ask a member of the audience to come out and they improvise alongside that person. So we're going to talk about that exact thing, like what it's like when something happens that's really rubbish and you just think, I wish that hadn't happened in front of an audience, and how to deal with that stuff.
I mean, I suppose if we write something within those writing slots that we really, really hate, it doesn't have to be part of the ultimate performance, does it?
That's true. I think it's up to us what we present in the end. And actually, because I want this to not just be an individual experience or even an individual collaborator experience, but a collective experience with all 60, 70 people who are going to be in the building, plus the audience. So I'm hoping that on the Sunday we're going to spend a predominant amount of time shaping the story that we are collectively telling, because it is one story and we are going to explode it into moments, but it will come back to being that one big story again. So we do have to make a collective effort to look at what we're collectively presenting and to rehearse it, although not rehearse it, but do it once so we get our nerves out of the way, and so that the performers have a chance to actually, feel it coming out of their mouths before we present it to somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I feel like we're going to be challenged with how we enable the performers to obtain the material from us. That's a concern I have.
Yeah.
And it's another thing I'm going to talk to Lee about, because again they do a lot of working fast and having to support performers in presenting material that they don't know, that's just coming out of their mouths without any rehearsal. Do you guys have any thoughts about that?
Are the performers going to be in on Saturday, or
yes,
they are going to be in on Saturday?
Yeah, they're with us throughout. Yeah.
Okay, so they will be involved, going around, talking, sharing, listening, maybe as we're writing on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So I guess that they'll start to get a feel for the sort of stuff that's coming out, and maybe themselves be able to pick up some of the things that writers are happy that they've written, for them to test and try things out, and how are they going to perform it in a way that can really enhance the work that's written, and try that on the Saturday before we get together on the Sunday.
I think so. I mean, I'm hoping that because they're going to be present in the building throughout, that they're going to be present, around the writing that's going on and engaged with that very early on, so that some of it will become devised with the actors, maybe improvising some stuff, and the writers, and this might be one of the ways in which the writers might like to take some risk with their work. I make a lot of work where actors devise things, and I say, I think it's this situation, and I think it's these characters, and I think we're in this place, and then they start improvising, and I go, it's that, but it's not that, and I like that, and can we add this? and then you make choices as a writer with people on their feet rather than on the page, which is just writing in a different way.
I think that's going to be absolutely brilliant, because in fact, when you're writing, when I'm writing, I don't usually have a performer there to then say it, sing it, whatever, back to me. And in fact, it's when it goes into the performers' mouths that you get a little bit more objectivity about it. So it would be really useful to have people around to just say, right, I need a male singer, or I need a female singer, sing that, and then you suddenly will be able to see what works and what doesn't work. So that's great.
And I wonder if we should add on the dance card not only the name of your collaborator and where you're going to work, but also any performers who express an interest in moments. So I wonder if the speed dating is also about that.
Maybe, because otherwise performers might be drifting.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's a great idea, though, because if one performer has hung around a couple of writers for 15 or 20 minutes and actually help them to devise something they're writing, then they may well be the person that should actually be involved in performing that.
Yeah, they should be, absolutely. I think that's really important, and it's really important for us as a collective to work together throughout, I think. So yeah, that's really good. Dance cards, 3 sections, got it. So I'm hoping that the outline of the story that we're going to have on the wall will be a character map, basically. So instead of saying this happens in the story and then this happens, I think it's nicer to say, here are the characters, here are the lines that join them together, here are the interrelationships and interconnectivity they have. Look at those lines and pick a moment where lines interact, cross over one another, or where two people have a relationship of some kind, rather than saying where 2 people meet at this moment in the story. Because it allows us a freedom, I think, to be flexible and interpret that in any way we want, rather than saying, oh, and then this has to happen in a sort of linear narrative way. And also, since we are presenting site-specifically and making unusual use of the space, that's going to obviously affect the linear narrative in this that we're presenting. Actually, we've got a provocation coming up with the wonderful Alan Lane from Slung Low. Slung Low make a lot of site-specific work, and he's going to come and talk to me about about using unusual non-theatrical spaces and storytelling in outdoors and wherever. So that's exciting.
And I've got a question on the story, Jen.
Yeah.
This is a story that we will all know. You've told us.
Yeah.
And
she's going to say, what is it?
No, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to ask what it is. She's not going to tell us.
I'm not going to tell you.
My question is, if it's as a well-known story, is there any fear that people will be distracted by the story and by the characters and by the situations that they already know in this story, and not allow themselves to be, creatively challenged in different directions because we know the story?
Yeah, possibly. Although I'm trying to think how to reply to that without giving anything away. It's not a story that has been presented in one famous form alone. So there isn't just one, here's the story and this is the exact way that everybody knows it. It's a story that has been presented many times in different forms. So I don't think there's any one big influence on people. Obviously, it's a story that's been presented many times because it's a story that I can guarantee everyone knows.
Yeah.
That. And I have to say, in making a story choice, so I'm still eating lettuce for my lunch. In making a story choice, I have played it a little bit safe with this first iteration, just because I'm keen that we give the form the most help we can this first time. So yeah, it's something that everybody knows, but that's fine.
Would there be an opportunity to create a new character?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not only a new character, but new moments in the story. Yeah, backstory, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be great if we have. So we'll basically have a skeleton of the characters and the relationships on the wall.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of pens and a bunch of post-it notes, and people will just draw new lines if they want, add new characters, add new moments, put a post-it note up, claim their moment in the map, so that everyone can see what everyone is doing. So that we can all see. So we're building a whole map of the event as we go. so that we can all see, oh look, there's a big hole there where nobody's really addressed that. We might want to do something for that, might inspire us and help us make a choice. So we will be collectively creating a big map of what we're making. Yeah. How I print out something that's that big, I have yet to think. We have a print budget, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I'm sure we put that in.
Yeah, but that's as always with me, there'll be lots of brown paper on the walls and inviting people to capture their experience as they go. Speaking of which, we also have some archivists in the building, so we'll have at least one, hopefully two, filmmaker and photographer, and an artist who is going to wander around with me and respond to the piece. In fact, the wonderful Ben Norton-Davis, who did that beautiful drawing that we're going to use.
Fantastic drawing.
Come and be in the building with us. So there will be people doing live capture, but I'm hoping people will also periscope things of their own volition, tweet stuff. You know, we might do a hangout at one point in the weekend where we're just live in the building and we wander around with a laptop and show everybody what's going on. So right. I'm very keen that we enable people outside the building to engage with the process and with the final result.
And after that, will we compile it all together and put it out on YouTube or something like that?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope we will. I think Ben put up the last show Ben archived for me was a Shropshire Lad, which we did as a workshop, and it's an ongoing development process, so we'll do more with it. But he put up a blog where there were bits of video and bits of contributions from other people, you know, prose and blog posts and tweets and things, and he's collated them all and put them all together in a blog so that so it all links together in one central place, and hopefully the show's website will eventually be that. It will be a central place where we can blog about it and everything is all linked into that thing. Right. Yeah. So do we think it's going to be tiring?
Oh, exhausting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tiring, but for me, I think it's going to be, I'm going to feel tired at the end of the weekend, not during the weekend, because I think there'll be so much adrenaline and so much excitement going on during Saturday and during Sunday. And I feel it's going to be a bit like, you know, a YMT show I've done where you're working 12 hours a day, but you don't really feel tired because your body doesn't let you feel tired until you've actually finished it.
And then you fall over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as we've got coffee on tap, it'll be fine.
Coffee, yes. There'll be a cafe. So-and-so Arts are very kindly going to run a basic cafe for us, so they can feed us coffee and biscuits and tea and things, important things like that. Yeah. So yes, but actually, where the building is, I want to say there's a restaurant over the road from it, and that's going to be.
Yeah.
It's a Browns or something like that.
We had tea there, didn't we? And then that's it, really. So it's not like, it's not like we can pop out to a sweet shop on the corner and get, you know, maybe we should bring in some chocolate. I think that might be a good thing to put on the
think it's a Tesco's Metro really close as well, so we can go for our chocolate crepe. Yeah.
And I think there's a Pret. But I'm not sure it'll be open at the weekend, actually. Why not?
We check those things out and make sure we can actually, people can eat on Sunday. That was important. Otherwise, we should give them a warning that they should bring packed lunches. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah.
So what else are we concerned about? What about things like printing stuff out? Will we all want to do that, do you think?
Yes, kind of. Usually, no, I'll probably write on paper, but my handwriting's illegible. So for anyone to understand it, I may have to type it up and print it out.
So should we maybe make sure we've got some laptops and printers in the building?
Definitely.
Yeah. I've just made a note of that.
And actually for the composers, they may want to even print out docs, you know.
Yeah.
And the singers, I think, probably like that if it's possible.
Several people have said they're going to bring laptops with Sibelius on if people want that. So much for my saying try and write away from the keyboard. Lots of people have said, I'll bring my keyboard. But we'll see. I'm going to try and encourage people to change their writing patterns just for the weekend and take a risk with that stuff too. Okay, so is there anything else that we want to think about for now, or shall I send out an email about the hangouts, the provocations that we've got coming up?
Yeah, when's the next provocation, Jen?
So now you're asking me a question to which I don't have the answer to hand. Hold on one. I will look in my handy diary. So on the 19th, which is next Tuesday, I am going to be talking to the wonderful Alan Lane at 11 a.m. about site-specific work. And then on Friday the 22nd, I'm going to talk to the brilliant Lee Simpson from Improbable at 2 p.m. About working fast risks without thinking about it and feeling bad, right things that you don't think are very good. And then the third provocation that we've got is on is in the week of leading up to the tiny shows, which is June the 3rd, Wednesday, June the 3rd, and it's at 7:30 p.m. I think, and I'll be speaking to Annette Meese, who is from Coney Theatre Company, and Holly Gramazio, who is a game designer, about how we might take risks engaging an audience and using the space to present storytelling. So yeah, that's all about how we reach out, how we tell, what form we use to bring the audience into the storytelling, especially when we're presenting multiple shows in the same room. How that might work and the risks that we might want to take with that stuff. So yeah, we've got how we're using the space, how we're collaborating together, and how we're speaking to the audience. Right. Those are our
if some of the writers are away on tour or whatever and don't have a chance to watch all those provocations beforehand, will we have sort of them available on the day, or some sort of short form of them available that people can use?
We can have a laptop with the provocations on. Absolutely.
If they can't listen to them before the day, it'd be great if they could listen to them before the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they go up on YouTube as soon as we finish broadcasting. Yeah. So people should be able to access them, and I'll send all the links around. But also, if anybody really doesn't have time, they could just email me and I'll send them a summary. That's fine too.
Okay. Great.
Good.
Are we going to encourage the performers to have a look at these provocations as well?
Yes, I'm going to email them. What I've said to the performers, because I didn't want to make them make a commitment quite far in advance, because you never tell when you're an actor when your agent's going to ring you and say you've got an audition, and then when you get 3 weeks for the RSC and in the middle of it is the tiny shows weekend, you can't.
You're like,
yeah. So I asked them if I could pencil them onto. All of those who've said yes have said yes provisionally, absolutely, which is great. And I will go back to them probably 2 weeks beforehand and just ask them then to make a commitment. And at that time, I will send them links to the provocations and say, it'd be great if you would like to watch this stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Right.
Yeah. So, anything else for today that we think of? No? I'm glad there aren't more things we're terrified about. That's really good. And what's our biggest hope and joy and excitement about this?
I'm hoping that it's really going to get my writer's juices flowing again. Just to have a weekend, using that part of my brain, like throwing stuff on paper. I think it's going to be good.
Good.
And I think for me, although I was the first one to say my fear is about not being able to produce anything, my great hope is that we produce something that's really fab, that's really mind-blowing. And okay, not everything is going to be super technically brilliant, but that we come up with something that in itself is wonderful, but that maybe provokes people to think about other things in their writing going forward.
That's my hope, is that we innovate. And even if we innovate and fail, actually I kind of hope we do, because then we'll go, oh no, I really could make that work. I'm going to take that away and I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
That for me is the thing. Yeah. And also I very much hope that we make stronger connections as a community.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to being in a room with mostly women writers, and this one I'm looking forward to having some face-to-face contact with the women who write musicals who are London-based. And I'm looking forward to, I'm going to say this as a positive, I'm looking forward to the format working so that it offers possibilities to allow another 30 writers somewhere else, or maybe more, to benefit from this process too. So I'm interested in finding out what we do get out of it so that we can try and facilitate that for other people too. I'm really excited that it's non-competitive and that so far we've said yes to everybody who's asked to be part of it.
Here's a difficult question. What are your fears about it? What worries you?
What's my biggest Yeah. My biggest fear is that we don't. My biggest fear is that we're not afraid. My biggest fear is that we fall back on stuff that we're not afraid of. My biggest fear is that we don't embrace fear.
Don't take risks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Not adventurous enough.
Yeah. I think, and that's hopefully about. Hopefully I am holding the space in the right way with the provocations, and at the beginning of the Saturday morning, hopefully I can open the space in the right way so that we understand, so that we absolutely know and understand why it's safe to be afraid. And that we absolutely make it safe to be afraid. And that we want.
I think the mere way that you have devised or dreamed up the structure actually will mean that we have to do something different. We have to get out of our comfort zones, because that is what we've got on the day. We haven't got the luxury of sitting back, thinking and pondering and going backwards and forwards. So I think that the mere structure of the weekend will actually just facilitate that, Jen.
I hope so. I mean, I've just written down what if. I think that's my main phrase that I would like people to have in their pocket at the weekend is what if. What if I was to write music? What if I wrote a song that happened backwards? What if what if I wrote a song that was just all B sections? What if, what if?
I've done that before.
Crazy things, what if I wrote this as an aria? Who knows what anybody's craziness is, but I hope that we come with a pocket full of crazy. That's what I hope. Good.
Great.
Thank you for another lovely chat. We will if you guys stay on the line, and we'll just do a little bit of admin after this. But I'm going to hit stop broadcast now, so it will upload to YouTube. Thank you for watching, people of Tiny Shows. We look forward to seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.